Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about what I think is going on with the energy at the moment around our reality, whether it's a globe or it's a flat disc or it's a simulation or whatever it is, whatever this is. One thing that we're being shown at the moment is that the energy, the frequency is going on up and down on this roller coaster, between 7.7 or 8 hertz, which was the Schumann resonance of the planet, all the way up to in the 50s. Okay, and then it's going there and it's oscillating there for up to 18 hours at a time, and then it's coming back down. And so we're having these peaks and troughs, and it wigs people out a little bit. It freaks them out a little bit because it's like running a marathon and not being able to stop if you're not a runner, or being in a sauna and not liking the heat. It gets intense if you're not prepared for it, if you're not used to it, if you haven't trained for it. And one thing that we've kind of worked out, or we think we've worked out at least, I don't like talking in absolutes, because as soon as you do that, you put a limit on something, and then eventually over time you're proved wrong, right? And there seems to be this whole speculation, calling the future culture going on at the moment in social media, where people are like, I called it first, so everyone should follow me, and I should be your guiding light guru. And as soon as that happens, I'm kind of turned off, because I think the real leaders should be leading you back to you, so you can be your own counsel and make your own decisions, and find your own tools and make your own tools and create your own reality. And this is what it comes down to, is that as these energies go up and peak, the veil of the physical reality becomes more malleable, it becomes easier to change, and it's all changed based on your focus and your intention and your thoughts and your emotions. And so we know this, we've been told this, but how many of us actually believe this, wholeheartedly believe it, and are acting upon it? Because I posted up this picture a couple of days ago of two choices of these outcomes of a future. One was like this dystopia, and one is a utopia. And I was surprised to see that people took it as, oh, we're heading towards a dystopia. And that was not my intention at all. My intention was, maybe it looks like a dystopia at the moment. Maybe everything out there is to convince you that it is a dystopia, that we're going over the cliff into the abyss, into this downward spiral. But there's these stories about the new earth, a splitting of energy between the earth is going to split, and peoples, based on their energy and their focus, will reside in one or the other. Okay, and it's a choice. It's not like, oh, I've got no choice being sucked into this dystopia. It's like, no, you are a fucking god, right? You are a forgotten god with amnesia, and you have the power to choose what you want your reality to be. And the only way that you can not be this powerful being, this supreme being, right? And when I say supreme, I'm not talking about over and above anybody else. I'm talking about resting in your own innate, God-given birthright power to create your reality and your future the way you want it to be. The only way to get you to give that up is not even to get you to give up your power, is to convince you to focus on something else that you would not choose, right? And so it's like, it's really easy to convince people that don't see through the illusion that we're going towards this dystopia, right? And there's been a lot of effort and work to get people to see that future, right? And it's like it's like almost a tourist campaign in reverse for this negative future world, right? It's like, come join the dystopia where, you know, you can live like a slave and everything is against you and there's no way out and blah blah blah, 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 and the food's poisoned and the government's corrupt and da, 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 and all this garbage, right? Whereas, you know, what is it, El Dorado, the Golden City, Paradise, those places are always hidden, and they're always hidden because they don't want contaminants being in there, right? Like, all you have to do is look at our movies, right? Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. When they finally find the temple where the golden idol is sitting there, the treasure, when they finally get to the edge of that city, you know, it's covered, you know, the jungle has reclaimed it, and there's all these scarecrows around, like, don't come here, oh, you know, you'll meet your demise, and certain death is just waiting around the corner, go back, you know, don't enter. But as soon as you pierce that veil, what's behind there? It's the Golden City, right? There's, you know, unlimited wealth and abundance there, and health and happiness, and forever and ever. And we just need to tune our energy into that and stop paying attention to all this bullshit that we're being fed, right? Just like these people, these street hustlers who come out and are like, yeah, $5, yeah, $5, right? And now if all you seeing, if there's hundreds of those people, you know, here, take this flyer, sign up to this scam, right? If all you're paying attention to is that, and you're looking around going, oh god, all there is this is on the street, then of course your energy's going to be focused on that. But if you just look at that and go, I only got $5, no, I'm not going to sign up to that scam, get out of my way, stop interrupting me, you know, I'm going about my business, leave me alone. Right? If you have this sort of attitude, then eventually they stop asking you, they stop getting in your way. They see you coming down the street and they go, oh, you know, he's not going to go for it, his mind is too strong, okay? He sees straight through the illusion, he sees that it's a hustle, he sees that, you know, I'm just trying to empty the guy's pocket and focus on something else, getting to focus on something else that isn't even real, because they give you this sob story, oh, you know, I've got this emergency, I need money right now, please help. And they appeal to your guilt and your lower energies, anger, hatred, jealousy, insecurity, spite, right? All these things that if you're not aware of, you'll realize you may have this pull to just jump in and participate in this because it's a habit or it's an addiction, okay? So you go, no, I'm not going to feel guilty if I don't give this hustler my money, because they're not spending it on an emergency, they don't really have an issue, they're going to spend it on whatever they spend it on, and if they really had a problem, they really wanted to get out of it, there's services, there's many opportunities for them to get out of this, just like there are many opportunities for us to raise our consciousness to this new earth, let's say, right? It's not even a new earth, it's just like there are all these slides in time, these dimensions, right? And the concept, so it's easy to understand, is that there's a negative one and there's a positive one, but really there's infinite slides, like 50 Shades of Grey, right? There's slides in between one extreme and another, and you can choose where you reside. And you do this by focusing your energy, focusing your emotions, and directing them towards these higher levels of being, right? Now, it doesn't mean you have to make these huge leaps all the time. I've been working personally on making little micro adjustments, which was a great term that Dan threw out there, and I still use it to this day. I think it's a great term. It's easy to understand. It's a great concept. It's like going to the gym every day and just doing your workout. Going to the gym every day and doing your workout. You're not trying to make gains all the time. You're not, throwing down protein shakes to get bigger muscles and all that sort of stuff. You're just going there to be healthy, to get into a rhythm, and to train your energy into a baseline state where most of the time, unless the shit hits the fan, you're in a pretty good mood and you're thinking pretty good thoughts and you're thinking about futures that you actually want to wake up to the day and participate in, right? And when you do that, you end up becoming this like lantern for people who maybe they're getting bogged down, or they're getting sucked in, or maybe they're just not quite down the path as much as you, and they're just starting out perhaps, or they're hitting some roadblocks that you dealt with like 9,000 levels ago. And just seeing you in your state of joy, or I was going to say bliss, but that's a pretty big jump. Just maybe contentment, maybe just optimistic, maybe you're just bored even. You're not angry or upset or fearful about a future. You're just sort of like, yeah, it's okay. Everything will be all right. Good things happen to me. What is teachings of Abraham? Things are always working out for me. Things are always working out for me. Things are always working out for me. These affirmations that run in subconscious in the background without you even thinking about them. They send out and emit a frequency out into the field, and it starts to warp and bend the field around you, right? So coming back to the Schumann resonance, going up and down like this roller coaster, when it goes up and it peaks, this is like, you're riding the wave, baby. You're getting on that wave, and the momentum, you don't have to do all that work to get your energy up. The energy's already up. All you have to do is get up on the wave and ride it. Okay, and ride it for as long as you can. You don't have to do any tricks and maneuvers, no fucking aerial 360s. If you can, great. If you can't, don't worry about it. Just ride it all the way into the shore as many times as you can, right? And you get into this habit of getting up on these waves rather than having them crash over you and like, oh God, not this again. The world's going to hell in a handbasket and blah, 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 right? So one thing that I know for sure, because I've experienced this and I've seen this, and I've been in the rooms where we were tested, we were hooked up to EEGs, and we had thermal cameras on us, and we had heart monitors on us, and they were really having a really good look at what was actually going on when we were going into these deep meditative states. Okay, and you have your 5 basic brainwave states: beta, which is survival; alpha, which is a learning state or relaxed state, like when you're watching TV; theta, which is like associated to dreaming, right? And if you can stay awake while being in this state, your reality becomes more dreamlike than physical. Then there's delta, which is like associated to deep sleep and regenerative healing. And then you have gamma, which is the magic state. Okay, now from what the Schumann resonance is showing us is that it's taking us through these states. It's taking us through these frequencies all the way up to gamma into magic land. And we're awake when this is happening. So what we think about and what we focus on and how we feel about our reality is having a tangible effect on our present and the timeline of where we're going into the future. Now, most people that were tested in these experiments in these workshops, in these rooms during meditative practices, would go into they'd be in a relaxed state, a meditative state. They'd be led there and guided there, and then their brain would go into a high beta frequency. It would go past that survival, go into a really high beta frequency. So if you're looking at the chart, and this is my left hand, let's say left to right, it's probably going to be reversed when we put it on the uploaded, but you have beta, alpha, theta, delta, gamma, right? And people would go up into high beta and then snap over into gamma, right? People who weren't trained in this, and it happened to them because they were led there through the room energy being lifted, would sometimes pull out because it would bring up states of fear and negative energies, because they were going through survival beta, okay? And then to cross over into gamma and then to go up was like this, like riding an old 60s plane in bad turbulence. It wasn't a pleasant experience for some people, okay? The way I did it is I would relax down into alpha, relax down into theta, relax down into delta, and from delta I would slip into gamma and go up into gamma, okay? And I found this to be a much more peaceful way, much more calm and relaxed way to do this, all right? Now, I wasn't intending on going into gamma, all right? I was just relaxing so much that my body became a conduit for that high frequency energy, all right? It's think about it like you're an electrician and you're putting a circuit together, and if you're not matching the energy and you accidentally put your screwdriver on the wire, you're going to get shocked, okay? And this is what was happening. People were getting shocked, and then they were, you know, almost getting knocked out by this energy, let's say. This is just a metaphor. And then they would, in their surrender, because they've just been knocked unconscious almost, then their body was relaxed enough to go into gamma. But then you have this recovery from the shock, right? Whereas if you sort of, you know, have your rubber shoes on and you're wearing rubber gloves sort of thing, and you go through delta, even when you touch your screwdriver on the wire, as far as the metaphor goes, the energy can pass through you and out of you, and it doesn't get interrupted on the way through, and it doesn't bounce around like a pinball in a pinball machine, and it doesn't cause any damage, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, energetic, right? Spiritually, whatever. So if you're feeling tense, and if you're feeling angry, and if you're feeling fearful, or you know, you're trying to control how this future comes out, then chances are you're slipping back into beta, you're slipping back into survival frequency, okay? Now, beta has this really high speed pinging sort of look on an oscillator. Alpha's a bit more larger, theta's even larger again, delta's even bigger, and gamma has all of them going on at once, right? So you can access, this is my theory, I don't know if this is anyone else has come up with this, but probably, there's nothing new under the sun, Horatio, as the saying goes. You can access gamma through every frequency is my theory. So why not choose the most relaxed one? Why not choose the one where you're healing on the way through? Okay, you get the benefit of the healing through delta. Or even theta's good, because, you know, at least you're in the middle somewhere and slipping into that dreamy, lucid state, you know, because when you get into gamma, and if you can maintain your consciousness and awareness while you're in gamma, it's like tripping, okay? It's with no substance. It just happens to you. The energy hits your pineal gland, it sends signals into the brain, into the endocrine system, releases chemicals into the body, and all of a sudden you're feeling and thinking and experiencing this reality from a whole new viewing area, a whole new perspective, a whole new level of consciousness. And that level of consciousness is a lot less limiting in terms of our physical Newtonian physics understanding reality. And things can shift and change right before your very eyes. And when I say this, what I mean is your perception of what is possible in your reality opens up so large that sometimes the only thing holding it back is your own beliefs and your own ideas about what's possible. Okay? And that goes for things like time, polarities of energy, how things can show up or not, you know. Most of us have this idea of a sequence needs to happen before something can be executed and manifest. Whereas, you know, when you're in this gamma super consciousness state, supernatural state, it's kind of like, well, anything can happen. You can just have the thought of the dream car, for example, and you walk down the street and around the corner and boom, there it is. It's parked right on the street. It was just around the corner out of sight, and now here it is in your reality. Yeah, maybe you don't have the keys to open it up and step into it, but it's there, okay? And if it's there and you can do that just by having the thought and letting it through, then maybe having the keys in your hand and being able to open it up and drive away in it is you know, not far away. It's not such a big jump. So this is just a few examples, but you get my meaning. It can go with anything, with relationship, with lifestyle, finances, health, you name it, whatever it is. So this, in my opinion, once we all start to get on this level of consciousness and acceptance and understanding that how malleable, how supple this reality really is, and that it's only limited and held together by how we think and perceive it, right? If we could perceive it without our limitations, we can perceive it through new beliefs that are less limiting, that are more accepting of this magical stuff that's possible, then it's not like we have to make it happen. It just shows up because there's no resistance to it, okay? Just like when you do the inner work, when you do the shadow work, when you look at your traumas and you go through all that, you know, all that turmoil of clearing out all those lower vibrational energies, then, you know, that high frequency energy that's already there, that's floating around us all the time, just like the signals that are picking up this video and transmitting it to your phone from a satellite, you know, bouncing it around across the world. We don't see it, but it's there. When your device is ready, you can receive those downloads, and not only are they just messages and information, but they're packets of information, and those packets of information can translate into what we perceive as physical, tangible things, objects, people, places, times, events in our reality. Okay, so if you're in a state where you're not focused on a utopia, right? Okay, I know it's a big jump, especially when everything you're looking at and seeing and perceiving is telling you that it's not. Maybe you need to dial that back, like stop watching TV, don't get involved in the politics. You know, I haven't been involved in politics. I avoid those conversations as much as possible because, you know, I know that most people, from their perception, they're still dealing with this side or that side, and I'm like, hey, it's all just to me, it's just all theater. You know, the real power doesn't lie in this plane at all. It's way up here somewhere, and it trickles down, and that influences this, whether it's through direct influence or whether it's through a mastery of a level our reality that we can't perceive yet, that people are being affected by, which is a whole nother concept and conversation. Because I've just sort of stayed out of it and kept focusing on futures that I want to have happen. I was talking to my partner yesterday, and she was saying how there's been this massive shift in the government, and there's all these independent seats that just got elected in, and now, instead of being this little bit over the side that just doesn't have any influence at all, now the two parties, the one that's now been moved into power, which, thank God, because this one was just full of shit and lying to us all. Now they really have to listen to these independents, because there's enough of them now to just turn on them and say, well, we don't like what you're doing anymore, and we're not going to vote for the things you want to vote for. And they can't afford to do that now because they want to stay in their position, right? So there's this like bottom up influence as well as a top down. And before it was all like top down, now it's a bottom up influence. Now, this leads me to my next and probably final point for this video, because it's been a long video, but I've been on a bit of a roll, so we just keep going. For years, okay, I myself personally, and I know other people that have been doing the same thing, have been anchoring this type of idea, consciousness, energy, frequency into our reality and around us, and to whoever would pick it up and whoever wanted to listen, whoever wanted to play with it, been given access, okay? Because from the ground up, okay, we're getting all this influence energetically from, maybe another galaxy energy and the sun beaming onto the earth, let's say, in the model of reality that we accept, and that's beaming down, and now we're being affected, and now we have to sort of rise up into that. But there has also been all these little seeds planted everywhere, throughout time and space and through people, that have been anchoring these points where all that energy can come and settle down and start to spread out, okay? And this is probably why it's also being a bit of a roller coaster, is that some points are more developed, and spaces and times and places and people, than others. And but what we're seeing now is that we're seeing a tipping point, okay? We're seeing that there's more awareness around things than there isn't. Before having a conversation like this, I probably wouldn't have had this conversation. I probably definitely wouldn't have made this video. I would have had so many restrictions around my consciousness to be able to actually speak this out. I've been trying to speak this out for a long time, and either I couldn't get it out, things, I'd start coughing, or the phone would glitch, or the internet would shut down, or there'd just be something interrupting this energy. And now here we are. I'm able to speak this out, and I'm able to speak it clearly and concisely and with flow, without interruption. Okay, so there's not just hope, there's a very high probability that we're at this tipping point. We're past the tipping point. We're right in the thick of this turning over now, from this old state, which, yes, okay, it's in our face, it's everywhere, but it needed to come to the surface, because these rackets, let's say, these games that have been played for, God, my whole lifetime that I know of, and hundreds, maybe thousands of years beforehand, that people have been caught in this gamut, this third dimensional loop, and now finally the energy is piercing all this veils. There's so many seeds planted inside this to push it to the surface so everyone can see it, so everyone can become aware and go, never again. We're not putting up with this crap ever again. It's so obvious. We can't not see it anymore. Even when we did see it before, we'd explain it away because we were too attached and too addicted to things to be able to let it go. Now we're at a point where it's like, you know, the whole thing's coming crashing down. We can't patch it anymore. We can't put any more band-aids on it. We have to look at it and go, when this falls down completely, what alternatives do we have? What do we want in its place? We do not want to rebuild this again as it was. We want to have a whole new structure, something that's open source perhaps, you know, or something that's more freeing for everybody, something that allows freedom to grow and more abundance and for things to, you know, for a more fair playing field. Let's at least have that in there, okay? But here's the thing. You get to decide. I get to decide. We get to decide. It's not out of our hands anymore, you know, because whether you're a king or a pauper, you're a janitor or you're a CEO, right? You have the ability to work on your own energy and have an influence that goes well beyond your body, well beyond physical and time restraints, and goes into, you know, multi-dimensional capacity. So keep that in mind and keep focusing on what you want, what you really, really, really want, you know, and don't get discouraged when you feel the gap. When you feel the gap, go, okay, well, this is the gap I'm going to work on closing, because when I work on closing or just holding the concepts, you know, and allowing the tendrils and the dendrites of that energy and the neurology to actually grow and develop and merge, when I just hold that together, not only am I doing it for me, but that once that's done, it gets uploaded into the super consciousness, let's say, the AI of life. And just like a Tesla vehicle, every time one car learns, every car learns, okay? So, and becomes safer for everybody, forever, okay? So just whatever you're working on, whatever you're going through, if you nail that piece is accessible for everybody in the App Store, right? Just like every time I work on a piece and I get something nailed, you know, that now changes the timeline for everybody too. And I've been working my fucking ass off to close those gaps on as many levels as I can, to the point where it almost broke me I don't know how many times. So please keep going. I'm not going to stop. I don't want you to stop. Let's keep going. Let's go straight through this wall. Let's blow the roof off this thing, blast it to pieces, and then let's arrive in this new utopian future, whatever that is for you, whatever that looks like. There's plenty of room for everyone to have what they want. There's plenty of resources for everyone to have what they want. There is so much information in the void, on the Planck scale, and so much energy that there is enough for everyone, everything to unfold in this reality.